Cool. Well, hello, Sigrid. How are you?
Jen, it's so good to see you again. Thanks
It
for
is.
having me on your channel again.
Yes. Thank you for coming back and, just being willing to hang out with me a little bit and have more conversations and just be supportive. I can't thank you enough. And so just, I always like to say a little bit about my channel. Um, for anybody who may or may not be tuning in for the first time, it's, the premise of it is transformation. And that's just kind of like an umbrella, and there's so much more. But essentially, sharing my life and sharing my life with others, in terms of what it was like, what happened, and what it's like today. And, that beautiful process, which has not been easy, but it's, some really cool lessons along the way. And I've learned in hindsight to, focus on embracing the process rather than resisting that process. Um, and, I do like to share and be pretty transparent, that I'm a recovering person. I know we share that in common, which has
Mhm.
been a beautiful thing, uh, but not an easy thing. I know we've sat in the rooms and shared our struggles, and which, are all relative to life. So today, I think we were going to kind of focus on talking about acceptance, which is, I don't know, it's just a great topic because I think so many of us go through life in that state of resistance, right? Where like life comes at you and then you don't like it and then you fight it and you resist it and then the pain comes. And then, so how do you get to that place of accepting something you don't like? Like, what is really going on here? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so true. So true. You know, as you were talking about how that process happens, it's just, I think everybody can relate to that type of situation. And and like you said, you and I met in the rooms of recovery, which I'm grateful to be sober and happy. And but it has been a long journey to get here. Um, this whole thing about acceptance and like it's natural to like put your hands up and say, I don't want this or I want it my way, right? I mean, that's natural. We're all anybody would respond that way. The
Yes.
trick is to realize when to kind of like give up the fight, or maybe for me, I realized I was fighting for the wrong thing. And so, yeah, so for me, a lot of times, and I know your channel's about transformation, when I stopped fighting for a specific thing, it felt like I lost, but other things came into my life and I was transformed. Like it changed who I was, it changed how I saw things. And
That's so
it's like
beautiful.
proverbial, yeah, it's like door number 3 or door number 4. It's not just, I've got to fight this, I want to win, or I've got to give up and I'm going to be a loser. It's like, wow, no, there's actually almost always door number 3 or 4, 5, and 6.
Man, I absolutely love that. I think that's just like a valuable tidbit, because the struggle is real, right? Not just in life and in the situations and circumstances that come our way, but then how we respond to them. Because, if you respond in that state of resistance, there is no peace. You can lie to yourself, kid yourself, whatever you want, but there's an inner turmoil that stirs up at the very least, when you're, not able to somehow, I guess really shift your perspective in a way, right? Because again, it's like all in how we respond. And I know that I spent, so much of my life in reactive mode, like reaction, like reacting to things that were happening or going on, rather than embracing and looking at them as, you know, God actually working. So it's funny because I know earlier we were chatting about, I had shared that I had suffered a job loss, got fired. I mean, that's like that word that I'm like, I don't, that's, it's like, it's kind of hard. It's vulnerable to share that, you know, but
Sure.
at the end of the day, I could have, and I did initially, absorb that in a negative way, but inadvertently it pushed me into creating a company and starting a company and stepping out of that pain, right? So I think when you get to that place of acceptance, there are more doors. Number three or four or five, the opportunities are, there's they're there. And
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
I
Were you
think
gonna
the
say something?
hardest, the most difficult thing is, like, so what do we do when somebody has really harmed us and, like it's really real. It's not something like we were victimized or we were, harmed in some way and we want to push back and fight, whether it's through legal means or whatever. But the trick for me is this is where I found it's very um the differences are subtle. Like for me,
Mm,
I have had to turn over the part for me, like the part that I can't control. So it's one thing to just say, well, I got hit by a car and well, people get hit by cars all the time and I'm just going to just accept that that was my destiny. And it's like, no, if somebody was drunk driving or negligent and they hit you, it's okay to be like, wow, I'm going to be in conflict with this person or their insurance company or whatever it is. But to realize what part can I just accept as like, okay, here's what I need to do in this conflict. And then everything else, you mentioned God, like I've got to turn it over to God or my higher power or whatever. If I can't control it because I'm not God, I'm not all powerful, I have to turn it over to the universe, which will just bring into my life whatever outcome it is. And all I can do is the next right thing. Isn't that right?
yeah, yeah, and that is part of living in the day as well. That whole next right thing, right? Because as those situations come into our awareness, moment by moment, hour by hour, day by day, it's really just, finding that right response within us. And, I think that's I don't know I know for me, that's tied into my spiritual condition, doing the right thing because of, even just with the nature of addiction, I was a scoundrel, underhanded, underhanded. I mean, I've shared all this, when I did
Yeah,
my fourth and
me
fifth
too.
step. Yeah. When I did my fourth and fifth step, it was enlightening to me to, speak the words out of my mouth that I was a liar and a thief, as a truth. Right. And so, today it's like such a different story in lieu of that transformation. Today I live, by that truth within me, which is my spiritual condition. And that breaks down into what you said about, the next right thing in the day. And, the key to, and this is a tough one, but, you know, how often are we stuck in tomorrow or yesterday, meaning the past? It's
Right.
like, how often are we bent on, what happened 10 years ago, 5 years, last week, and then we're pulling that into our future, missing out on the day. I mean, this whole acceptance thing is spiraling into, this conversation, but it's great because I mean, this is like real life stuff that, I'm aiming to live out. I want to walk out this freedom. I don't want to just be, sitting around talking about it, which, in the rooms of recovery, we're all good freaking talkers. Like we all say some profound shit for real. But
Yeah.
my goal and my ambition is like I want to live this, and then and then you move into the next space where you actually really want to help people who are struggling and stuck. And I know that um, I know that your story and your journey is so profound and you share so many amazing things, truly. And, in part, that's why, I feel like your presence is significant in terms of transformation and helping others. And I
Thank
love
you.
that. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Well, I mean, I had to look at, my past history. And, a big part of my history was I felt like bullied as a child and as a young adult. And
Yes.
and that's a big trigger for me too. When I am in conflict, it feels like I'm on the playground getting bullied or in the classroom getting bullied by kids or adults. Frankly, the adults were worse bulliers in the 80s than the kids were. That's where the kids must have learned it. But here's the deal. When I took a look at my part in everything, when I had to do that moral inventory just like you, I had to realize I was a bully. Like I had become a bully back, right? So like, and you know what? That sticks with me. I didn't just figure that out and then just like, okay, I'm gonna stop bullying people. I That was the defense mechanism I used for so long, and I still try to avoid using. But it's so easy for me to make those side comments, or
Mm,
like use my language to make somebody feel bad, or words of threatening. And I just need to realize on a daily basis, just today, like first of all, I'm not that little kid,
mm,
and so like I'm safe and protected, and that like my words do hurt too. So even if I am feeling like picked on or bullied or whatever, I need to just like, oh, like acceptance, right? So I've need
mm.
I gotta accept like it's just words or whatever. I've got to turn it over and let it go.
Well, it's interesting, and this is very profound, actually, because what so I think as humans, we tend to repeat patterns, right? At least that's what I've seen for me in my life, which is produce the frustration. Because like you'll have this awareness about this pattern, or like be able to identify where something stems from, like in your past, like you just described, right?
Hmm.
And then we become victim to that, right? Unknowingly a victim in some way, shape, or form, as in, for example, the repeat pattern of in your adult life, in some like underhanded, snide, maybe side door way, those bullies come out the cracks. And then
Exactly.
and then your response is, you know, which is here's the powerful part, is identifying that you're actually bullying, and when you bully, that's what you attract. It's so weird, because I always, like in my like studies and things that I've learned about the law of attraction, it's just a big mirror. you know we attract who we are, not what we want, so to speak. And then we get frustrated with that, you know and it's annoying, because unless you can
Oh yeah.
unless you can have an awareness that like everything starts within, like what you said, um it really, it's where your freedom starts to be able to walk that stuff out. And through that is when you do that, I really believe that that is part of that personal ownership, where you're moving into that space of you know taking responsibility. Because
Yeah.
so often when you're a victim, you don't want to take that responsibility. Because why? Because, well, look at me, like I'm an effing victim here, can't you see? Like here's all the reasons why. But then
Yeah.
you just never get free, you stay stuck, and then you keep whining about it. And I mean, so I loved what you said, because you are not alone, I am not alone, and hallelujah, we're not alone. This is a human condition problem here.
Yeah, this what we're talking about isn't just for, people in recovery.
No.
This is the human condition, like you said. And like when I accept that I have a part in the energy that I'm putting out there,
Mhm.
and if I decide to just say, oh, you know what, that person who cut me off in traffic, or that person who um call me that, gender slur or wherever I'm at, um, they're suffering too. They've had a rough road probably, or they're just a jerk. But I if I put that energy back out there, it's just going to be reflected back on me. And so when I put love out there instead, which is really hard to do sometimes,
Oh my God.
but when I put love out there instead and acceptance, which is what you're talking about, just accepting that person for who they are at the
Mhm.
time that they're here, like I can let it go because I know that I've done the right thing. Then it doesn't stay with me.
Oh,
Whatever harm they tried to create with me, I don't have to carry it all day.
oh,
And then maybe, just maybe, that person will be like, wow, I was kind of a dick to that woman. And like maybe I need to start looking at myself. It happens one person at a time. And I know that's why you have this channel up here, just to share it with one person at a time and make the world a bigger, better place.
oh my God. Thank you. No, that is like, I love it. I really, this is like so powerful, this conversation, and it's just amazing. And everything is just so spot on and so relative. And the beauty and the best part for me with, in particular you is just the genuineness and the authenticity, because, it's like it's real, it's raw, it's what it's about, and, people connect to that. And I just want to say one more thing, like you've really uncovered some keys to actually being able to walk out of freedom in life, for people to actually uncover for themselves and walk out those freedoms. And, that's something that, I definitely want to be able to, put out there into the world through these conversations. And so, yay!
Oh,
No,
thank
I'm
you
just
so
kidding.
much.
But anyway, thank you for coming on and chatting it up with me this morning. And it's been awesome. And I hope to rendezvous with you again. And
It's always a pleasure.
thank you
Thank you so
so
much,
much.
Jen. You're a
Yes, thank
beautiful human
you,
being. All
Sigrid.
right.
Thank you. Alrighty. Bye.